Hello, everyone. I want to start by jumping right in and asking you how good you are at reading food labels. How good are you? Do you ever look at the labels when you go to buy food at the store? Well, if so, put those skills to use here and look at the ingredients on the slide. What do you think this is? What food item is that? Look through that list of ingredients there. How many ingredients, how many names on that ingredient list do you recognize? And how much of that is totally foreign to you, a foreign language? So look through that. Take a moment to stop the tape and look at the ingredients on that list and see if you can figure out what it is. What food item is that you're looking at? Okay. Well, now that you've looked it over and hopefully made a guess as to what it might be, the big reveal, it's a banana. It's a banana. Maybe people thought it was a processed food of some sort because there were all of these colors in it, yellow, orange, E101, which is just another name for riboflavin. These flavor compounds, ethyl butanoate, these different natural ripening agents, which is actually ethene gas that the banana produces itself, etc., etc. This is a banana. This semester, we're going to learn how to make sense of words like this that describe the chemicals that you're putting in your body. In fact, we're going to explore all of the chemistry and biochemistry in a very surface way. This is a survey of the chemistry and biochemistry of food. Such an important thing. All right, so the class is Biochemistry of Food. My name's Dr. Thomas Klepak. You're welcome to call me Dr. Thomas Klepak, Dr. Klepak, Professor Klepak, or Tom. I'm very happy to be called Tom. And there's my email. So to begin with, I'm just going to show you the point distribution of the class. This is a lecture and a lab. The lecture component of this course is unfortunately due to the circumstances that the entire planet finds itself in, it's going to be completely remote. Whereas the lab will have both a remote and a in-person component. The lecture is going to be approximately 70% of your overall grade. You're going to get one grade that's going to cover both the lab and the lecture. So the work you do in the lecture is about 70% of the grade. And then what happens in the lab is about 30% of the grade. Your lecture grade is going to be made up of a midterm exam, which will be roughly 15% of that 70. And the final exam, which is another 15, you'll have a video podcast or blog project, which is 15% of your total grade. And we'll talk about what that means in a little bit. Then about a fifth of your overall grade is going to come from quizzes that you will take on hopefully a weekly basis, if not at least with every unit, over every unit that we cover. There will be a small science literature assignment that you'll learn about later in the semester. And there is a personal health log that I make all of my students keep track of. And you get 1% for just doing that. So that's not graded. It's supposed to be a tool that'll help you be more aware of the lifestyle choices you're making. So I'll talk about that in just a moment here. All of these points are tentative. And, of course, I reserve the right to change the grade structure to meet the needs of the class. So I'll give you as much warning if I do that as possible, and I promise to always be working in your best interest. I'm here for my students. I love teaching. I love working with students, and I'm really here to help you. Okay. So the basic materials of the class, you can find them mostly on the lecture Moodle. So there will be any assignment submission portals will be found on Moodle. I say most because at the very end of the semester, you're going to have to turn in your science media blog post, and that is a portal that will you'll do that on the class WordPress. Also, sometimes there are surveys that I take or polls that I take that are on other platforms. The quizzes, the midterm, and the final submission portals are all on the Moodle. There is a syllabus that you can find on the Moodle. That is a living document, meaning that I may change it a little bit as needed just to reflect the most current information for my students as that emerges. There is also probably the most important document there called the course schedule spreadsheet. This is also a living document, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But on that spreadsheet, there are lecture recording links, PowerPoint links to the PowerPoint slides as PDFs. There are links to audio, video, or text weekly science media, which takes the place of a textbook. There isn't really a textbook that I'm assigning for the class. There's not really a good one out there, first of all, and then secondly, there's really no point in making you buy some expensive textbook that doesn't exactly fit the content of the class. So take a gander at that. There will be links to the class polls. Sometimes just for fun, I poll you to see what your thoughts are about some of the topics that we're talking about. And you'll find the due dates more or less all listed there, reminding you that not all of the assignments are necessarily submitted through Moodle, but it should be pretty clear as to what you have to do for each assignment. So that's all on the course schedule. We'll see it in a moment. And then also on the course Moodle is a lifestyle log sheet, and you'll see that. Let's take a look at the course Moodle. Here it is, and you'll see a number of resources for you. The academic honesty and Kolbe affirmation. This is the link to the syllabus, followed by the course schedule. We'll take a look at what that looks like in just a moment. You will find a link, a Zoom link to that. This is where you will click to have office hours with me if you wish. I don't have set office hours. You'll have to come. I have an extremely busy schedule this semester that with changing time frames that are due to the fact that I'm teaching a lot of classes, but I'm also homeschooling our children every other day. So you'll have to arrange office hours with me, but I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. If you want to meet with me on an office hour, you can click on my work calendar, which is the link right below, and see if you can find a time in there that you can meet with me. It's best to, once you find a slot of time and you put yourself in there, you should email me to remind me that you want to meet, and then we'll meet by clicking that Zoom link there when we have figured out a time. So there's quite a bit of science media that I'm going to have you look at, both in the primary literature but also in the popular media. And I draw from the New York Times quite a bit because we have free accounts to the New York Times. If you haven't accessed your free New York Times Kolbe account, I put the instructions for doing that right there. You can follow that. You'll certainly want to make sure you can keep up with some of the readings that supplement what we talk about in class. And then here are these other resources. I have these tabs for lecture PowerPoint, etc. But the links for that are actually going to be on the course spreadsheet, the course schedule spreadsheet. So these other resources, you'll find a link to the class WordPress. You'll want to do that. You'll want that link when we start working on the media project that you're going to each of you is going to be doing. And then there's all kinds of links to different resources here for using the multimedia resources on campus at Colby. The person that you'll want to coordinate with is named Tim Stonecipher, who is in the academic ITS department. And that's his email. And then you'll see all of these different resources there. So you can request various media equipment, and that's the form to do that. This is how to make reservations and instructions for how to use the one-button studio or sound booth up in Lovejoy, 4th floor. This is the link for the audio recording booth support. And then a link to stock footage, music library, and links to Audacity, audio blocks, and video blocks, which are different resources that will help you with that project. That'll become clear later on. So let's look at the course schedule first. So here's the spreadsheet. And in this first column, you see this is the date, the day of the week. And then the next column, this third column, is the topic that we're covering in the lecture that day. And you can see that some of these are hyperlinks. When I complete this video, this first one here, this course introduction, watch this first, that will be the link to this video. But I'll send the link out otherwise beforehand. So, and then you can see here that I've already recorded the first couple weeks of lecture. Basically, Unit 1 has already been recorded, and you can start watching those whenever you want. And I'm assigning them to days so that you're able to keep yourself more or less on track as we go through the semester. But of course, you can work at your own pace. And then PowerPoint slides are here for each of these. This is the link to the PowerPoint for the course introduction and supplement 1. And then Unit 1, lectures 1 through 6, all of these lectures, the PDF for that is right there. So you should be able to download that and take a look at that. The next column, so all PowerPoint slides will be in this column. The next column over is polls, quizzes, and tests. So there will be links to polls. So this is the link to the Google form. That is the entrance questions. I ask you to do that. I'll give you a week to answer those questions. And then these other links are to polls that I have set up just to get some feedback on those different topics that relate to the lecture. Often they relate to the supplementary science media. So, in fact, both of these, Fritz Haber poll and the Nauru poll, relate to the science media that's right next to them. How do you solve a problem like Fritz Haber? It's a radio lab that I ask you to listen to because it supplements what we're going to talk about, turning lightning into hamburgers, the nitrogen cycle, in that particular lecture. Likewise, No Island is an Island. It's about the island of Nauru. This relates to the phosphorus cycle, the sorcerer's kidney stone, the phosphorus cycle. So that should all be pretty clear. This is your science media, podcasts, and readings, etc. There's no textbook that I'm assigning for the class, but all the media that you need to watch, listen to, or read will be posted there. And then lastly, this column is due dates. There's another link to the syllabus there if you want it. But I'm going to try to put all the due dates for different things here just to kind of remind you as we go through the semester. You can see that I haven't fully built out this semester. I haven't made all these PowerPoints yet. I'm revamping the class. So as I work through the material, I will post the PowerPoint slides, and the whole this whole sheet will evolve with the semester. I promise to try to stay at least 2 weeks ahead of the date where you should be. So I'm well into March here already. And I also put another link to the office hour Zoom. You can find that on the course Moodle as well, but there's another link for that. Another tab here, we'll get to lab in a moment. I'll come back to lab in a bit, but we'll make it the second tab, is the media project. And we'll come back to this in the PowerPoint that I'm talking about in a moment, but I just want to show you that this is where you're going to want to go to put in your name and the science media project that you want to do. So what is the topic? You're going to make a short podcast or video, or maybe like a photo journal, or some kind of extended project about a food science topic. So I want to know what that topic is by February 19th. And you'll put it on this list. I'm doing this publicly here so that you can all see what each other is going to be talking about, so there's not a lot of redundancy in topics. I'd like people to try to cover topics that are unique to themselves. But we'll get to that in a moment. All right? There's a lot more about all of this in the syllabus. If you read the syllabus, I suggest that you do that. All right, let's go back. Oh well, here's the entrance questions. That's the link that's on the spreadsheet there. Please answer this. This is just some basic questions like what's your experience with cooking, etc. All right, so back to this. The lab. First of all, there's no lab this week. It's a half week. We're not going to sweat it. In general, to make sure that we have enough room, enough space, we're not crowded in the labs, we're going to go to a cohort model. So you're going to have to sign up for a cohort A or cohort B on the course spreadsheet. I'll show you that. We'll go back to that in just a moment. It's another one of the tabs on that spreadsheet. The first lab, which is going to happen next week, is entirely remote. You're not going to come to class. No one's coming to class that week. That is going to be the family recipe lab, where your job is to try to get a recipe from your family, or maybe there isn't a family recipe you have. Maybe it's just a favorite recipe, like what's your favorite food. Look up the recipe, get the recipe from your mom, your grandparent of some sort, whoever. Maybe it's your dad. I do all the cooking around here. But get that recipe, and your job is going to be, well, you can read about it in the course Moodle, but it will be to describe the nutritional content of that. Try to do your best to research what the nutritional breakdown of that recipe actually is. So the first in-person lab for cohort A will be February 24th, 25th, and 26th. The first in-person lab for cohort B will be March 3rd, 4th, and 5th. To these first in-person meetings, please, the one thing you need to bring is a bound notebook to the first lab. So that's a notebook that is sewn, stitched. I don't want any notebooks that have pages that can tear out. You want a bound notebook of some sort. And then on the lab Moodle you'll find all the laboratory instructions. It'd be ideal if you could read these before coming to lab, so that when you get in there, you know what you're doing, and you can get the work done and get out of there in a timely fashion. And then this is also where you can submit any of your lab write-ups. if it's called for that, if it's not something that you're handing in class. All right, so let's look at the tab for lab. This is the third tab on the spreadsheet, and you'll see here that there is, for the Wednesday section, which is from 1 to 3 in the afternoon, there are 7 blanks, and you can sign your name up here and in cohort A or cohort B. I can only have 7 in each of them. If the list of 7 is full, then if you wanted cohort A for some reason and there's no room, that's tough luck. It doesn't really matter. There's really not much difference between them. It's just a timing thing. And likewise for Thursday and for Friday. And then I have a column over here that'll be due dates for the different cohorts for the various labs. It'll be a little bit different for cohort A and cohort B. So just to be clear, cohort A on Wednesday is not coming on the same day as cohort A on Thursday. They're just synced up in terms of weeks. So looking down below it, here is the schedule. And I copied it under Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but really it's the same for all 3 days. So the first week, which is either February 17th, 18th, or 19th, depending upon what cohort you are in, what section you are in, everybody's doing this family lab recipe. I don't have it posted on the lab yet, but I will by next week. And so you can read that over, and you'll just do that at home. You won't come in. That's something that you should be easily able to do in your dorm. Then for cohort A, the first in-person is on the 24th, 25th, or 26th, depending upon whether it's a section of Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. And you'll come into the lab at Olin 314. The cohort B that week, you're going to be doing an activity at home. So, this is going to involve you're going to get little kits, molecular modeling kits that you'll take home, and you'll work through a worksheet that'll go along with that. You'll be able to pick those up in a box in front of the lab anytime that week. And then the following week, it's just going to flip. So on the week of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of March, cohort A will be doing that macronutrient structure activity at home in their dorm, while cohort B comes in for the fermented foods lab in the lab. And then likewise, back and forth every other week, alternating in the lab and then at home in your dorm. So that's the semester for the lab. I have written all these labs in here. They're not all built yet, but I have my work ahead of me, just like you do too. Is there anything else in the lab to show you right now? I don't think so. Okay, so the next is the class blog. Yeah, so let's look at that. Here is a picture of the actual class blog, and this is just a gallery of some of the students, the things they've done in the past. This was an experiment where we were making, I don't actually remember what this was, actually. We were making cookies or something, I don't know, some kind of apple strudel or something, and calculating the caloric content. But if you go here into the, is it the blog? Yep. If you go into the blog, no. It's into the student podcast. Obviously, I need to clean this up a bit. But in the student podcasts section, you will find links to previous media projects by a variety of students. So there's fresh summer salad, moonshine, etc., etc. So the art of brewing beer and pairing it with food. Let's actually go to making ice cream. So we can see here Peyton Fales makes ice cream in this, and we're actually going to do this in one of our labs, which is fun. I'll probably use Peyton's video during that lab. I've never done that in the lab, but it looks like a fun thing to do. And he made a little video about how to make ice cream last semester. This is the kind of thing you're going to do. And let's see how long his was. This is only a minute. It's on the shorter side, which is good. It's good to have a nice short one. But he talks about it, and then he writes about it here and talks a little bit about the science behind it. So that's the sort of project that you'll be working on. Some of them were larger than others. So years passed, and your projects will all be found in here this coming year. I'm trying to build up a stash of them that we can use, that I can use as content throughout future years of this class. All right, so these are some potential topics for the video podcasts. It can also be audio podcasts. I've in years past, it's just been nothing but audio, but I expanded it to be video last year because the pandemic drove everyone off campus and they didn't have access to the audio booth. So I figured videos would be easy for people. Anyways, these are topics that if you don't know what is interesting to you, here are a couple topics that you can explore. The wide world of spices, pros and cons of various diets, nutritional regimens, food as medicine, foods that are supposed to be good for you but maybe aren't, foods that flip-flop, the scientific ups and downs of different foods, et cetera, et cetera. There's Maine Made, the science behind foods made in Maine. That's pretty cool. Anyways, you can look through this. This is in the syllabus. It's in the slides here for this. And if you don't like any of these, you don't have to do any of this stuff. You can choose your own topic as long as it relates to food science. And I hold the ultimate veto power of the benevolent dictator over that. But I'm pretty open to whatever you want to explore. So there aren't a lot of hard due dates here, but here's some benchmark dates. I would like your topic. It is due by February 19th, and I'm doing that just to get your butt in gear, make sure that you are getting this moving. And then these are just some other sort of benchmark dates. There's not actual due dates around it, but if there's an outline for the project, or if you're going to write a script, a good time to have that done would be by March 5th. Like, spend some time sitting down, writing it out. And then spend the next month shooting video if you're interviewing people, or recording audio if you're doing that, or recording Zoom sessions with an interview of somebody, or whatever you're doing. But get all of your footage that you're recording done by April 9th, and so that you have 2-3 weeks to do some editing. So you can be done editing by that Friday. Final draft should be due and posted to the WordPress site by the end of April. And I'm doing that so it's not quite at the end of the semester, so that gives everybody the last week of class for everyone to read each other's projects and peruse those. You'll have to make a comment that is a supportive comment, and offer any kind of constructive feedback that you think would be helpful to the person. I'm also considering having you interact in a similar way on a similar project with some local high schoolers. Of course, unfortunately, all remotely, but we'll see if I can arrange that. Anyways, that will be done by May 7th, the end of the semester. So those are some dates for that project. I talked about the personal lifestyle log. So there's a PDF of that on the Moodle I showed you, I think. And it's basically just this. As I'll read it, as part of the broader goals of this class towards encouraging a healthy lifestyle during your education and career, I ask that you use this personal lifestyle log as a means for monitoring the critical aspects of healthy lifestyle during class. Not going to be graded, you're just given credit for using it. So the first thing is you want to rate your stress from very low stress, right? That's as low stress as you can get. You're feeling pretty mellow. Then partial stress, moderate stress, high stress, or very high stress, right? And so then you'll either circle a number, or if you're somewhere between partially stressed and moderate stress, you'll put a slash between them. That's fine. Sort of like a 2.5, for example. And then you'll fill in the rest of the stuff. How many hours of sleep did you get that day? Did you exercise, any kind of physical exercise? I went for a ski for a half hour, for example. What kind of breakfast did you have? What did you have for lunch, dinner? Did you have snacks? Right. So sort of looking at the correlation between your levels of stress and personal lifestyle choices that you make. Have you been eating well or eating poorly, not like skipping a breakfast? Does that associate with higher stress, for example? Or not getting enough sleep? Does that correlate with your increased levels of stress? Just making you more mindful of the choices that you're making. That's one of the broader goals of this class, helping you to make informed, healthy, sustainable choices about that relate to your life, your health, your well-being. Okay. So the entrance questions, I showed you that. The link to it is on the course schedule spreadsheet. It's a Google poll. Just tell me your name, what class you are, your major, and importantly, you'll have to tell me what your food allergies and dietary preferences are. I need to know that. If you have any allergies, I got to make sure to not introduce any of those foods into the room where you're going to be. So that's a required question. Please fill that out. You're not allowed to come to lab until I have this information from you, please. And then what is your experience cooking? Have you cooked before? Are you like a master chef in the making? Or are you challenged with making toast? That's okay. All of it is fine. I just want to know. Your general comfort level with science. That is it's a good one to know. And then these questions are also important. I didn't make them mandatory, but what do you hope to learn from this class? And are there any topics that you're excited to learn about? Is there anything else that you think I should know about you? Yeah, maybe you're excited to learn about bananas. So that's it. That's already a lot to process. I hope you're doing well. I'm excited to meet you all. Love you. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.